Welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement. This is episode 144. And as always, Pylet, why are you already shaking your head?
Because I
Welcome.
was in chat and I couldn't hear the music. I was trying to be helpful.
Oh, I thought you were just shaking your head at me like, oh, God.
No, I unmuted, heard everything over just to help out, and I get yelled at. This is my day.
Well, you had that disappointing look like, Tito, I can't believe you won this game. But we'll talk
Well,
about that later.
Yeah. That's just generic.
And we also have one of our favorite returning guests, LanguageHacker. LanguageHacker, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? I'm
Good.
You know what? Let me actually hold on. I have more to say. I'm doing okay. I'm very tired. And I have been. Actually, we can talk about this later. It'll come up in the questions. I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, well, apparently we're doing better than you, or maybe worse than you. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Great podcast at this rate. Tito's struggling to talk. I'm on an 11-game losing streak.
Oh no! Let's not jump the gun here. LanguageHacker, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone this week? This new card reveal release week, whatever.
I've been doing some things differently than I normally do. I normally just try to make a couple different things work that kind of fit my play style or things that I'm interested in doing, and then get mad that it doesn't work, and then just I stay upset until things change. However, I've been trying to make an effort over the past year, actually, to not just fall back into that same pattern and just try a bunch of different stuff. Doesn't matter if it's stuff I like playing or not, just try a bunch of different cards. And I have been enjoying that a lot, even if there's some things souring that experience.
Fair enough. Anything specifically that you've been playing that you've been enjoying or not enjoying, or?
I spent a good day or two trying to refine like some Control Priest, which had varied success as the meta evolved and changed. But I haven't had particular success with any one thing. Just bouncing back and forth between new stuff I see on Twitter or on the friends list or whatever, just to try stuff out, get a diverse sort of expansion launch experience instead of just trying the two things I like to do every expansion. It was just play Dirty Rats and Vipers.
Fair. And hopefully we'll have a little bit more of a diverse experience after the first balance patch, but we'll talk about that. Speaking of not the greatest experiences, Pylet, how's life in Hearthstone treating you?
So it started out really well early last week. Tried a few different things and then went on a like 9 or 10 game win streak, just kind of deck rouletting, playing 3 games of different decks. Deck I've played the most, that's I think the Arcane Dragon Mage with the Fabled cards. That deck is really fun. And when it works, it really works, and when it doesn't work, it really doesn't. Which was what happened today when I followed my 9-game win streak with an 11-game losing streak over the weekend. So it is what it is. It's a normal new expansion experience for me, especially because I've only played like every other day. So I'm not keeping up with the meta developments. So I'll get all these decks that I really want to play, get to 2 of them that night, and then try to come back to them 2 days later, and the meta's completely shifted to where they're no longer viable because either they're outdated or as things get more refined, then they kind of get shoved out and you're not facing as much jank. But it's fine. It's the first week. That's kind of what I expected, and that's what I went in with. So
That's fair. I came home early on release day so I could stream and play. I played a good 8 hours the first day or something, and it was a lot of fun. And I tried to do a bunch of different things, and that was good. And we climbed better than normally release time is when I have like the worst time because I just lose no matter what. But we're getting better at Hearthstone, I think. So we had a little bit more success. I even found I made a few decks, or at least I made my own versions of some decks, and it was weird because on Coin Concede this week, they were talking about Shredlock, and they were like, and the first two to stream it were Tito Santana and Cantaloupe. I was like, what? All right, and then I'm looking at the off curve sheet. So World 8, Magesa, and used to be Hap. Now it's um, World
Wicked
8 and
good.
Wicked Good. They put together kind of like, hey, here's a list of the decks that people are playing right now, and my name was on there like several times, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm almost like a real content creator. So we're working on it. We're trying to get there. I then so I had a really easy climb to legend with Shreds Lock, and that deck was fun. It's powerful. You can really high roll, and you can force high rolls kind of. So if you're aggressive enough, it works. And if you're too passive at all, it's one of those things where I think it's a really good learning how to play aggro deck, because if you're passive at all, you're gonna just get overwhelmed and you'll lose. But if you can just be super aggressive and say, you know what, doesn't matter, I either win or I don't, you're gonna win a lot more games, I think. So that was a lot of fun. And then I get to Legend, and I was like, all right, now it's time to complete some of these other quests. So I started playing some other things, and having middling success here and there. And I noticed that I was getting kind of close to the bottom of the legend ladder. So I'm like, all right, now it's time to just kind of make some stuff up. So I've been trying to make up decks, and I have one that I'm pretty happy with right now. It's not good, but the concept there is good. It's like uh, this divine shield paladin kind of thing, where you got the Torah, the legendary that the divine shields pop 3 times. You get the minion that pops out a 7/7 tank that has divine shield, and you cube those things, and it just gets really sick really fast. um, it does struggle against some decks. It's not great against Demon Hunter, but you can also, I mean, at Death Knight, but you can also, have some, if you can get it rolling like any deck. This is the problem when I have a deck that I do well with right off the start, is because now I'm going to believe in it a little bit, and then next week I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm 4-28 with this deck. I thought it was going to be okay. It's not. And this is just how it works out. Hacker, what have you been doing outside of the game?
Getting used to life back in the city, I guess. Going out a bit more, trying to not necessarily touch grass, but touch air. And that's actually been kind of nice. Again, trying to make healthier habits outside of the game so that when I come back and am unhealthy with the game, I can do that better. Going out with friends. Yeah, just anything away from the game basically has been a nice breath of fresh air when it's been an active effort.
Very nice. How about yourself, Pilot? What have you been doing outside of the game?
I'm trying to think, because I feel like I've been busy, but I think it's just been kind of the normal swing of like go to work. I then have bowling a couple nights a week. Kind of got out of my slump with that, which has been nice. Still not fully there. I still had a couple games where I just dropped out of nowhere and didn't know what to do. And then this weekend was the pre-release weekend for the new Lorcana set, so got to play in a sealed event on Friday night. Had a really weird set of cards to build my deck with, so we get 6 packs and build a 40 card deck out of the 72 we open. I only opened 8 total 1-drops, and 3 of them were utterly unplayable. So I'm like, well, looks like these 5 are going in, and we're going to rely on the 32 drops that I opened, or whatever ridiculous number it was. So I had no top end, no 1-drops. Did okay, except for the game where I played against someone who got a lot of really strong top end cards and just kept dropping big 5 and 6 cost bombs that I'm like, well, my little 2/3 doesn't do anything against this. So that was fun. Then opened up the product that I purchased. Not as good of an opening as I hoped. Got a few, I think I got 4 epics, which is like an alternate full art with foil, and then 5 or 6 legendaries, couple good ones. So kind of interested to see where the meta falls. It's a really, I don't know how this set's gonna land. Doesn't seem like it's going to be overly impactful other than a couple cards, but we'll see. You're muted, Tito.
That's because I was trying to do
There we go.
things. Thank you. So that's great. I want to play Lorcana, but I'm that's a whole nother thing to start getting into. I did the opposite this weekend. So today, I have been going through a lot of my Magic cards, and I've been selling some to some coworkers. And today, I bit the bullet, and I went down to the card shop, and I said, "Here you go. Here's some stuff I have." And I walked out with like enough money to pay probably the next two oil bills. So 19-year-old me is helping to pay my bills now, which is nice. I was pretty sad. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like I really don't want to get rid of these cards, but it's like whatever. Just do it. It's you'll get them more later, or you'll get different ones or whatever like that. But I did buy myself a couple commanders because people at work and everywhere, commander's a thing. So I figured I'll start building something up from there. So I bought Terra Herald of Hope, who I bought cheap commanders, so don't if you're wondering why, like you've probably never heard of these guys. I'm just starting small, just doing something to build up, and I got no Master Chef. So we're gonna see if we can start building decks with those. If you have ideas for those decks, please let me know, or cards that I need to go cheap cards. We're not looking to spend hundreds of dollars. I just sold the cards to get those hundreds of dollars. So now we need to scale it back and just build small things and have fun. But we're not here to really talk about Magic the Gathering or Lorcana. We're here to talk about Hearthstone. So, Pylet, do we have any news this week?
We have a couple of news items here. First one for Masters Tour, we have the Last Chance finals coming up this upcoming Sunday, November 16th. So this is players who competed in the Masters Tour and didn't qualify for World Championships, the top 50 global points earners across all three qualifying periods, and all top four finishers from open qualifiers during the Last Chance qualifying period. So they will be competing for the last spot in the World Championship. That is going to be streamed. There will be drops to earn 2 packs, 1 hour per pack, and that'll be streamed on the normal Hearthstone Twitch and YouTube. And then we also got an update on some of the things that we discussed last week. So we discussed that for the monthly ranked rewards, we got Lost City of Anguro packs instead of Time Waste packs. That was a mistake. So this upcoming week, they'll be sending the proper Time Waste packs to everyone to make up for that. And then we'd also discussed the bug that allowed people to open signature Mr. Clocksworth, which was supposed to be you could only get that by purchasing some of the sequence bundles. It was kind of the thing at the end of that. So they went and they took that out of people's collections and gave them a random signature instead. They are going back on that. So if you opened it by mistake, you're going to get that signature Mr. Clocksworth back. You'll keep the random signature that you already received, and they're also going to send you 5 golden Time Waste packs as well.
It's nice to see them. This is after a series of L's that Blizzard has been taking, Team 5 have been taking over the last year. This is an L turned into a W, right? Because I know a lot of us were disappointed that it's like, hey, it's the pre-release brawl. It's the first of the month. I'm gonna get new packs that I can find maybe some cards I can play with. I was all excited. I woke up early. It was like Christmas morning, and I went and I was like, wait, what's all this? This is not the cards I'm looking for. So that was disappointing. It doesn't help you to go back then because it was too late. But this is them doing the things right. And a lot of times when these things happen, especially with things like the reward track, and they make these changes and they change like, oh, we're going to change how the quests work or whatnot, and they do the wrong thing and they make bad decisions. But then when the community comes back and say, you've made some really bad decisions here, always very nice and calm and respectful. No one ever yells. No one ever raises their voice. Everyone's cool, and then Blizzard listens and says, "Okay, we'll readjust," and they usually adjust in a very positive manner. So I just wish they would start getting it right on the first time around. But this sounds like it may have been a bug, but I don't know. I if the goal was to try to get us to buy more packs because we were getting older packs, I don't think that was the way to go.
They did say it was unintended.
Okay, good.
So it was
But yeah,
an oversight or something.
and it doesn't affect us really much, right? Because we pretty much get all the packs, and I have enough dust where don't even have to think about crafting anything. I bought all my packs with gold that I had left over. I didn't buy a bundle this time around. And whenever I see a card I don't need, it's usually a fabled card, and I usually craft it in golden, and I move on, and I don't even see my number going down on dust. We've been playing this for so long, so um, yeah. Any thoughts on this, Mr. Hacker?
Not particularly. There are a lot of things that I think could be done a lot better. That's community facing, but I think this was handled fine. Just a mistake, owned up to it. Our bad. Here's some comp. Seems good.
Nice. Anything else, Pilot?
Couple updates on some bugs that we talked about and issues with the major patch. They have fixed for Battlegrounds players, duos is back online. That was taken down because it was causing game crashes. And then there's an issue with anomaly appearance rate, specifically the rule that they said you can't get, you'd have to, if you get an anomaly, you won't get it for like 2 or 3 more games afterwards. They tried to change that. There's some issues with it. They've gotten that fixed. They've fixed some of the other things that we've talked about with being able to accidentally open cards that you're not supposed to. It looks like alternate reality is now fixed and back in, but I haven't checked it because I didn't plan on playing it in a constructed deck. I was going to try it in the brawl, and then it was banned. And then there are a couple small little tracked issues that they have. Looks like Gelbin of Tomorrow can be drafted in Arena. That's the Paladin Fabled. Fabled's not supposed to be in Arena yet, so if you see that, it is a bug. They do know about it. Most of the other things are collection related with signatures and Goldens and hero powers and heroes and whatnot. And Lord Barov can still sometimes explode in Battlegrounds, and I'm interested to see how long that bug stays in there.
It would be nice to see this happen. I wonder. There's got to be a clip of it somewhere.
I'm surprised it
I don't know
hasn't
what
happened
happens.
to me with how often I like playing Barov.
That's fair. Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't, Hacker. You don't play very much Battlegrounds, right?
I come in every couple of big patches and try it out again, but I haven't for a bit.
It's fun, especially duos. You and Wanda should do some duos on stream. I think you guys would have some fun.
We've bounced the idea around. I don't think she's not super into the duo stuff. It's a bit too much going on.
Fair. And not in the notes here, but BlizzCon has been announced for next year, and Hearthstone World Championships will be at BlizzCon next year. So that's awesome. I doubt I'll ever find my way to a BlizzCon, just with how life is for me. But it's very exciting to have the live events. Those were awesome. Hacker, somebody that has participated in both live events and been doing Masters Tour and Grandmasters out of your bedroom. What's it like? What's the difference? What's the experience?
It's a very big difference. Like the nervousness and anxiety is the same, but the energy of live events is completely different. Not just from like a competing standpoint, because obviously competing with a bunch of stuff happening around you is kind of a big difference as well from being a bit more secluded from the bedroom. But just in between rounds, it's nice to be able to go hang out with other people. It's nice to go do stuff after the events or before events, plan stuff, book Airbnbs with other people. It adds an extra layer of. It's part of the social aspect I think we've been missing for a long time since COVID stuff has happened, and since fireside gatherings have gone away and a lot of live events have also gone away. It's a big difference, and I think hopefully bringing it back will drive the community forward. I don't know. It's something I miss a lot. So and I've heard this echoed a lot from other people as well. Just being able to hang out with other people in the community, not just online, but in person, I think adds a big plus.
And it always felt like more of an event when even just watching it on Twitch, because there's more processing. Not processing is the wrong word. There's more just around it, and you get. It seemed like they put more into it too, as far as the storytelling, and you get to see the people, and it is a different thing to be able to win at home when it's just you, or when there's people in the stage watching, and there's lights on you, and you have you have the headphones on, so you can't hear things or whatever, and it's a big difference. And I think that definitely is probably another level of challenge that really kind of helps you stand out if you are a champion.
Yep,
It also
absolutely.
means that we'll probably get the announcement for how next year is going to work very shortly, or during this World Championship in December, because BlizzCon's in September. World Champs has been in December for the past 4 or 5 years. That's significantly earlier, so that's going to really change the schedule for that.
Yeah, maybe they only do 2 instead of 3 brackets or whatever, or maybe they have an accelerated timeline. They only do 2 this year. Okay, so
and the last chance.
But the good news is we now have confirmation that there will be Blizzard esports, there will be Hearthstone esports in 2027. So, yay Hearthstone, yay esports, very exciting. Anything else, Pylet, on the news?
Nope.
All right, so I guess we dive into the new deck. So we don't really have a main topic today outside of, hey, it's week 1. We're playing new cards, we're playing new decks. We're playing old cards, we're playing old decks. We're playing old decks with 1 new card that's making it unbearable. Pylo, why don't you start? What's your experience been on ladder? We know you've had some winning and losing streaks, but what are you seeing out there?
I've run into mainly control the past few days. A lot of Quest Warrior, a lot of Death Knight, and as I say that, I look at my deck tracker and I see very few of those. So those are the ones that are sticking out just because the games are twice as long. So that's how it goes. But yeah, I've been, as far as decks I've tried, I've really enjoyed the Dragon Arcane Mage, to where you just run Watercolor Artist to get buy 1 get 1 freeze. You run the Fabled, you run Portal Vanguard, the Rewind Dragon, so you can pull your minions, and you run Xavius, and that's the only minions you run. And then you just get value from your arcane spells. And as soon as I figured out, I had a game where the correct play was just a tempo, a 2/8 dragon on turn 5, because they weren't going to deal with it. And then they died on turn 6, or they conceded on turn 6 because I put them in a spot they were just going to die, because I copied it the next turn and just went off. And I'm like, oh, this is what we do with it, because there's not a lot of decks that can deal with 8 health on turn 5 if they don't have something else going already, or unless they're warrior and they shield slam it. So once I figured that out, I've had a lot more success with it. It's been fun, a lot of hand management, but it's a style that I enjoy playing. I really enjoyed Naga Mage, which was also a lot of constantly just doing stuff and figuring things out as you went, and it's kind of scratching that itch that I've missed since that deck got nerfed. And then surprisingly, I think the other deck that I had the most fun and success with was Aviana Medivh Priest. Tic Tac had a list that was going around that was Imbue and Aviana and Medivh, and you just survive, and then just drop a bunch of stuff late game and try to run them over with it. And I had a lot of fun with that deck. I don't know where it's at now because I don't see it very much. So I think it fell off, and I just played it early enough that there's enough jank that I got away with it. But I will take it because I had my fun with it.
Awesome. How about yourself, Hacker? What have you been? I know you've been playing a lot of different things. What has you been enjoying, if anything?
I started off with that same priest actually, and I did have a lot of fun with it as well. Definitely fits my play style. It does play quite a number of new cards, including the Fabled Medivh thing. And I had a lot of fun with that, but I think it kind of fell off because people just started killing you a lot faster. And since then, I've been trying the decks I've tried most recently, not the past day or two, but before that, I played a location priest that uses Busy Peon and Resuscitate, alongside with the Scrapbooking Student to copy like the 7-mana new location or Medivh's location, which has just some early plays, some Resuscitates, and then you get cheap locations down that you copy. So it ends up having a lot of value and gas that way. That was kind of fun. And also Location Druid, that I didn't play as much of, but I thought was really interesting, that has a similar idea with the scrapbooking students, but with Queen Ashar's new location, or one of them that copies a friendly minion. And if it's like if you play Queen Ashar and buff it, it copies a friendly minion with double the stats. And it tries to OTK people with Charge Zealot from Chrono Boost, that you end up nightmaring or buffing with Mark of the Wild, and then you copy it with a buffed location, which doubles its stats, and then you copy it again with a buff location that you've copied with the scrapbooking student, and then it ends up being like way too much damage, which requires some setup and seems very complicated. But it felt like it was happening in quite a few games when I tried playing it. That has also kind of fallen off. I think Kubu got like rank 1 with it, but maybe a similar thing happened like with the priest, where people started running you over. But I thought those were really cool newish decks, that actually new in the actual sense of the word. Like that kind of deck didn't exist before this expansion. So I do appreciate that there was some new tinkering going on.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week, but I played against that in the preseason, in the theory crafting, and I was up against some no-named McBannerface, and you might have heard of him, but he's up and coming. And I won that game playing Zarimi Priest, and but like it was just this long grindy game, and at the end he just started like, Zealot, why are you playing the Zealot? Like, oh no, oh no. And I like the version better. It's not as good, but I like the version that uses the pirate, because there's the pirate that if it doesn't start in your deck, it has charge. So the first copy doesn't, but the doubled copied and the double copied is. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of fun and interesting. But the Zealot's gross. I haven't seen much of it on ladder. I personally have, like, so I played a ton of Shredlock. We already talked about that. That is a fun, good deck. I played a lot of no minion Demon Hunter, which I think is potentially there. It's not quite there, but it's definitely feels like it's one of those decks. It's a Timmy deck, right? It definitely has the potential to be good, and you'll have some blowout wins that feel really, really good. Um, and then you're like, wait, why am I 4-10 or whatever? So I think it's there. I want to build a Brox. So now that I'm here, I want to build a Broxgar. I don't think he belongs in any of the decks that we currently see, like, because he's in there and you almost never get enough portals, and I don't think I've never generated him once, and I've played plenty of the things. I think you need to get something in there with turbo drawer and just kind of like churn through your deck, and then find a way to like double, or maybe even you have to play Elise and find the double or the copy and whatnot. I don't know. There's got to be a way to do it. I think that's going to be one of those cards that's going to be fun to figure out. Hopefully it's never good. Hopefully it's just okay, because if it's ever good, it's going to be really bad to play against all the time, because I think that would feel really bad. But I'm hoping that we can get there. I played a lot of the not low druid, the guy that makes the bottom 5 of your bottom 5 cards of your deck one man. I've been playing a version of that deck that I've been having a lot of fun with. It doesn't run the Fabled, although maybe it should. But it just has a few big things, and you get them. Warrior, the dragon and rage warrior is kind of really fun. I don't like that we're using the rogue Fabled, not necessarily for the Fabled, but to make a weapon rogue. Like, come on, you degenerates out there. Do we really need to bring back weapon rogue? Because the whole thing is you get the weapon, the Fabled weapon, and you buff it up. And then if you happen to play Garona, okay. But it's just you're playing your poisons, you're playing whatever, and it's just so annoying that we're back here again. Like, what year is this? But and then the paladin. So I started playing aura paladin, and then I started making this paladin other deck. And actually I've been playing a handbuff paladin too, that I had gotten from World 8 on theory crafting, and it's fun. I think there's a lot of potential. It's nice to have Painter's Virtue. Like, almost every time I'm playing paladin, I'm playing Painter's Virtue, I'm playing Tigress Plushie, I'm playing some Grime Streets. It's 2 years ago, all back together, and I'm here for it. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. So why don't we just go through each class and say, hey, kind of like we'll talk about the problems at the end, because let's try to keep it positive for now. There are problems out there, and if you play Hearthstone at all, you have run into some of these problem decks. And I think they're going to get fixed. I think they're going to get nukes from orbit. I don't think we want to tweak these decks. Anyway, I'm jumping the gun. Death Knight. What are we seeing in Death Knight so far, Pylet?
So see, a bit of the same to where kind of the main 28 cards of the deck haven't changed much, but quite a few of them have added the Fabled in, just because Talanji and Bonswami fits fairly well into some decks that we're seeing. We were seeing a little bit of experimentation with the Death Rattle package and Awakener of Souls, so that slid into there. There's I think it's a double blood one unholy deck that is using that and is doing fairly well. Looking at HS Guru, Heron DK is just under 55% Diamond through Legend. So Death Knight's doing fine, just not with a ton of new stuff in it other than the Fabled that I've seen. At least I've seen lots of leeches.
Yeah, leeches are all over there, and I can't find it right now, but on HS Replay they had the name of it. They had Frost Swamdy is the name of one of the decks, and I really like that.
That's cute.
How much Death Knight have you played, Mr. Hacker, and what are you thinking about it?
I think day 2, I tried a little bit of the kind of triple blood Bonsomdi list, but I think everyone's just playing Blood Unholy because of the Awakener of Souls over the travel security. And I've seen some people play both of the Death Rattles just to have some extra oomph. I haven't played that much of it, but I've played quite a bit against it. It plays very much like Leech DK from pre-expansion, just with a couple of extra tools. Which I like that the new cards are seeing play. I think that's fine, but it's kind of the same deck, so it doesn't feel terribly different. Haven't played much of it myself, though.
I also the same. Haven't played much of the Death Knight. I thought I was going to, and I probably will, but having played so much Death Knight in the last 3 months, it's kind of nice to take a break.
I do want to point out, just under dedicated Talanji DK decks, on HS Guru is Quest Death Knight at 49.7% win rate. Using mainly the new stuff is using Portal Vanguard to draw, because I think drawing specifically targeting your big minions in that deck, I think is helpful. Being able to get look for your Maladars, look for your Nerlex because it runs the Dragon slot package. But there's a couple of them that are also running Husk, which if you have corpses and then die, that's basically instant quest completion, as well as running Talanji as well. So
nice.
And that's it.
I have
just
not
under
seen a ton of
50%.
Husk. I've not seen a ton of Husk. I thought I was going to see more Husk than I do, because it's just it's a decent card. You just play it, and if you happen to die, you might get an extra thing. It's almost like no cost value, but maybe it's best the 29th or 30th card of a deck. I don't know. I haven't seen a ton of it though. All right, what do we got next? Demon Hunter. What do you think about Demon Hunter, Hacker?
I've seen some people try to experiment with, and actually I did a bit as well. I don't know if in Theorcrafting you ended up facing a deck. I think John Berg was playing a lot of it, where you would cycle through your whole deck to do the Brockscar portals, and then you would go the new card that discounts all the minions in your hand and go Brockscar Brewmaster with Kane, which ends up doing a lot of damage. But I think it ended up not lining up well into the meta. And since then, I've seen people just slot Brocksgar into Peddler DH, and it's been okay. I haven't been Broxigard honestly at all against that deck, but I feel like the portals give them a bit of card draw at least, which isn't necessarily the worst thing. And then sometimes, hey, you just end up hitting them for 12 with a 2-drop, which also kind of makes sense with that deck. So it seems like that's just slightly evolved. That other than that, I haven't seen too much experimentation with it.
I've seen a lot of Quest surprisingly, or not a lot of quests, but a lot more compared to whatever. And it's a fun deck. I enjoy the quest. I'm glad it seems to be. I don't have the stats up. I'm sure Pilot's looking at what the stats are for that right now, but he wasn't, but now he is.
I don't see it on there. It's not on the meta tier list at all for them.
I'm telling you, I run into it and it's actually pretty decent. Or it feels pretty decent. I feel like I beat it about as half the time, and the other half the time they get there. So
Unless it's under this. So, yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of Demon Hunter. I played a couple games. I played one game with it because, like I said, Broxgar is a card that I want to try to make work, and I know isn't, but I want to play that card. I just haven't had time to kind of filter through because there's a lot of different takes on how to make that deck work and a lot of variance in how those lists are performing. So I was kind of waiting for some of that to settle in and then try to pick and choose things from each of them. But looks like nothing too much has settled in. No minion. Demon Hunter is settled in at like 44% win rate as an archetype. Dedicated Broxgar one, which is I think the Brewmaster one, is 38%, which is the second lowest on HS Guru, right above Quest Rogue, which is not a glowing endorsement of the deck. Quest Rogue is higher than it ever has been, though. It's at 35%.
so
Big.
all decks
We've
are
done
now
it.
above Whizbang,
done
right?
it.
They're all above Whizbang.
There's no Whizbang yet.
Okay, fair.
Too early to tell.
Inconclusive. But yeah, I think a lot of the Demon Hunter that I've seen has just been kind of similar things like we've talked about. Peddler still out there. Aggro Demon Hunter is still very strong. You just throw maybe one or two more dormant making cards in there so you can play the snake and throw out a 7/9 rush for 4 mana, and that's pretty good. So Demon Hunter's kind of where we expected it to be, I think.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen any decks that really focus in on the dormant stuff, because that felt like that was like a theme that had some power behind it. And the snake and then you had the taunt minion and whatnot, but I guess not. I guess they're
Taunt minion.
yeah, isn't it? There's a pretty big taunt minion, right? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a neutral, but there was a dormant minion that
There's a
what was
3
it,
mana
3/8?
dormant, like 3/12 rush
Yeah, that guy.
something.
I
So
think it's
maybe
not
that's
rush.
slow.
But yeah, very slow.
Very
We've
slow,
tried
yeah.
we've tried the dormant cards themselves being powerful in the past with the imprisoned stuff, and they're like fine. They were fine on curve and then awful at all other points. So I'm not super excited for that stuff. But I do like that they added the snake, which at least feeds off of the other dormant stuff. So I do appreciate that. Slightly different direction.
Yeah, I think the only extra thing I've seen added in, other than the dread seeds that we were already seeing, was a couple of them playing the 1-drop Slumbering Sprite that we got a couple sets ago, the 3/3 dormant when you use your hero power, it awakens. Just because it's already solid in Demon Hunter for an aggressive card, but if you draw it late, then you can just use it to discount your snake by 4 for 1 mana.
And the snake is a good card. I've seen less of the snake than I thought we would too, but it's just not there. Demon Hunter feels like there's a lot of potential in a lot of different directions, but it doesn't feel like there's one that really kind of stands out.
It's good. It might be one of the best overall classes right now. Aggro Demon Hunter 59%, Cliff Dive 56, Peddler 54,
Okay, yeah.
Armor 53. It's just not new stuff. It's just using maybe 1 or 2 new tools.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
So yeah, Demon Hunter's doing all right. Just Broxigar's not.
And what was the other legendary they got?
The no minion stuff, the Eternal Hold.
The Eternal Hold, yeah. That card feels really good.
The deck is not super, but that card is very good and might eventually make that deck work.
I'm curious what the win rate on that card, or the drawn, or elegant, whatever. I'm curious what the stats on that say. I'm gonna look that up.
So while I was looking at that, we can move on to Hunter. We'll catch up on that in a second. I have not played any Hunter at all this expansion. Yeah, I want to. I just don't want to play Beast Hunter, and that's really still good right now. We seeing anything besides Beast Hunter going out there that's good?
I was playing Discover Hunter. Discover Hunter was a lot of fun. I was playing a list that I think No Hands put out, but I don't know where it's at. Didn't have a ton of new cards in it, but it was doing just enough. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it because I was playing it on mobile, and now I don't know where it's at.
Is that the one with Insidious and
It's the one that I
Neri?
sent you. Yes.
Okay, that's a fun list. That is a really fun list because you get the when you get the explosions, you get them in your hand too because of the discover. When you discover it, it plays one and puts it in your hand, and then you play Neri, and then you play more of those, and there's a lot of potential there, and I'm sure it runs the guy that does the new card. It probably runs the. I wish I remembered his name. The one that doubles everything at the end of the turn. The one that's going to get like super nerf from Orbit pretty soon.
Oh, Deus.
Deus, yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't even relying on that all that much. I've got to open the client to see what's actually in the deck list because it's not popping up on my deck tracker.
This is
But
amazing podcasting, by the way.
It felt really good. I mean, it's similar to what we were doing before. You just play a bunch of alien encounters, but it had a little bit more reach with some of the new cards, and like you said, still have Insidious. We're still able to duplicate things and just have a lot of fun with that. Beast Hunter's still good. The empty hand, no hand, Demon Hunter is doing fine. It's at a solid like 53% win rate. Most of those aren't using a ton of the new cards other than like the one drop and the draw card. Maluk is not seeing as much play as I expected him to. I haven't had a chance. I have a deck, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Any thoughts on Hunter Hacker?
I tried a couple. So I know there was like an updated Discover Hunter, like you guys were talking about, that's running the Sylvanas sisters, which is nice.
Yes.
And I found that they actually slotted really nicely in most Hunter decks that I tried, even like the Philagra ones. They seem like a solid package in there. I tried like a pure face Hunter list, which ended up feeling a little too. There were some games that it felt amazing, and other games where I just died slowly. And the sisters added some value, and I ended up being able to go longer in a face Hunter matchup, which felt kind of cool. But I looked at the stats on those, and I was losing like 85% of them, so it just didn't feel worth it. But after that, I ran into some other people running some sort of hybrid between Discover and Face, where you have a much more aggressive game plan, but you're not running. I don't think they were running. I didn't see their whole list, but I don't think they were running Insidious in the top end stuff. But they were still running Exarch Niall. They were still running the alien encounters, and it felt like a bit more mid-rangey, but it still had that aggro, like get out the gates pretty fast feel to it. And that I haven't tried out yet, but it looked pretty good and promising at least.
What you say, what we keep saying is, hey, these old decks added a new card or two, and this is so. In Unguro, we were complaining that none of the cards hit, and we had all these packages, like hey, like these quest packages, and yeah, you had Paladin, you had Warlock, not right off the bat, but you eventually had Warlock, and now it's everywhere. And we complained that hey, if you have all these packages, then it's hard to if they don't hit, then what do you have for a set? Now we're getting what we asked for, kind of, which is like, hey, we want generically good cards, and yeah, we have a lot of that. Except now that we're just seeing the same old decks with a couple new cards, and that's not exciting either, in my opinion. So, like, it's real designing cards is hard.
Yeah, I think definitely. It more just proves that card game players are never happy. You're gonna upset one half of the player base, but I mean, I've gotten on the soapbox before to where when we got generically strong cards that they just fit well into the decks we have, and you're not going to create new decks. There's not a lot in this set that sparks a brand new archetype out of nowhere. The only ones really that were built that way were Rafam, basically the Warlock set with Rafam and Shreds, but even Shreds is still mainly Painlock that we just haven't seen for a little bit, and now is back. The Arcane Dragon Mage is brand new, and the no minion Demon Hunter that we haven't played since Scythe rotated or whatever it was.
And Aura Paladin.
Or Paladin's new. But there weren't a lot of cards in the set to spark like a brand new archetype out of nowhere. And that's fine. Like, then we're going to see, oh, this is a good card that slots into this already good deck.
But it does kind of, yes, I agree with you. But it also kind of makes it feel like I'm still just playing against the same decks I've been playing the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. And it's like I'm still running into Protoss Priest with no changes, and it's just like, come on, like why? Let's do something different. And there's a lot of Priest stuff. The Priest has the potential to have its own kind of different take on some decks. I mean, it controls still, but I don't know. It's hard, right? It's hard because you want to come into an expansion. You want to be like everyone's playing these new things and all that. And it's just like nope. It's two different reasons between Unguro and Across the Timeways, but same results. We're playing a lot of the same decks with a few cards changed.
Yeah, but we're actually seeing new cards.
Fair.
That are winning.
That is good.
That are winning. I did find that Discover Hunter, and I think it's very similar to what LanguageHacker was talking about, to where it is a little bit more mid-range. The only new card that is playing is the Fabled, the Sylvanas, just because if you discover extra copies of that, that's really, really good. And then it also runs Brewmaster to copy that and just do, 6 damage AoE as many times as possible. And then it is topping out with Incendious, and then it's running the plus give your minions +1 attack and cost 1 less for each minion you have Ziliax, just because you flood the board 3 or 4 turns in a row with your alien encounters and all this, and then running Neri because of Grifta and because of the spells that you discover.
I've seen a lot less Grifta, I feel like, and I definitely have seen a lot less Ceaseless. So
the meta
maybe
has
those were the
shifted
30th cards
faster for the Ceaseless, at least.
Yeah, I think Ceaseless is starting to show up a little bit more. I think we weren't seeing as much early just because people were dying before. I had a Ceaseless in hand earlier that I kept wanting to play, and it cost 50. I'm like, this isn't going to help me.
maybe they should buff Ceaseless, right? I'm just kidding. All right, so what are we seeing in Mage? We already talked a lot about the Fabled. Is there anything else happening in Mage?
Not that I've seen. Elemental Mage. I've seen some of that. So I've lost to a couple of Elemental Mages that I don't know how many new cards are actually playing.
How about Paladin? Paladin, we have the Aura Paladin. Have you guys played much of that?
I have not tried it. I faced it on ladder, and as I saw what they were kind of doing, I thought, oh, you know what? This actually looks really fun. I kind of want to try it. And after losing it to a couple times, I realized I was really only losing to Metal Detector and to like Coin Gelbin. And then I was like, I don't like that. So I didn't play it. Because I realized I'm literally going to mulligan for Metal Detector, O Manager, and Gelbin. And I thought, I don't think that's very fun. I want to play multiple new cards, not just coin one new card and then be like, haha.
There's a lot of good cards in there, though. I hear what you're saying. I agree, but like
the non-Gelbin plan did seem like Hearthstone to me. That was kind of nice, but a lot of the blowouts were just coin Gelbin, and I thought, oh, this is like really good and disruptive and developing and everything, and then I don't want to play against that or play as it.
I have seen less Quest, which makes me happy. I've still seen some of it, but I have seen less of it. That's just one of those decks. It's like, you play, you're like, oh, I got the advantage, and then they play Grunty, and you're like, well, there went the advantage, and you're sad. Pilot, how about Paladin? I've already talked about the ones that I've been looking at with the the buff Paladin, and the divine shields. But you seen anything else?
Yeah, the Aura Paladin was 3 of my 11 games skid over the weekend. It got close. I had a couple games where just trying to learn the deck and not quite getting the right cards, and then I had one game where 2 turns in a row I had a handful of auras that didn't do anything. Um, so I'm like, okay, I have 2 Crusaders auras and nothing on board. I can heal all the minions I don't have on board. It didn't go well. But the one that I just grabbed one from HS Guru that was the highest win rate, and I think it's also highest play rate. It's actually also running Dorian to try to get extra copies of Fyrak and something else.
And Gelbin.
Yes.
Going, yeah.
So because you run Ursine Maul, so you draw the top end. So you Ursine Maul on 4, Dorian on 5, swing, and get a 1/1 Fyrak and then a 1/1 Gilbin.
That seems pretty good.
It does. I didn't do it. It didn't work for me. But I can see the concept.
All right, so moving on to Priest. I've seen a decent amount of Protoss Priest. I've seen a little bit. Actually, I've seen a decent amount of all things Imbue Priest, which kind of seems weird, but that seems to be doing okay. I haven't seen too many new. I've seen the what's the card, the Divine Beast that your
Aviana.
cards all cost 1. Aviana, yeah, that one. I get confused because I get that confused with the name of the Druid card, that gives you all the 10 minions in your deck.
Also Aviana.
Is it? Okay, so I'm not confused. Okay, good.
A lot of Avianas.
Didn't think they'd have a lot of Aviana's all the way down. Because they're the same name, I'm always like, am I getting it confused? Is it Aviana? Okay, good. Now I know. I should have already known. But yeah, I have not seen. I've seen maybe one of the Fabled happen, and I haven't really seen any of the health buffing stuff. You guys seen any of that? Hacker, what are you seeing out there?
I'm not sure how much I've actually seen. Pilot, maybe you go first. I'm trying to think of an instance where it actually did come up.
I've seen one that I wasn't playing myself for Priest, and it was a Zarimi Priest that I ran over with the Shreds Lock. But like I said, I was playing some of the Aviana, Imbue, Medivh, just control, survive, pile of stuff. And the one that have the one from Tic Tac pulled up that I was playing, it is running some of the new kind of hand buff cards just because they're just good cards. Disciple of the Dove, the battle cry draw minion, you give minions in your hand +2 health. You just play that card just to draw and make your stuff stickier. It's running Amber Priestess, 2 mana, 1/4 battle cry, restore health to a character equal to this minion's health. Healing on a stick. Whelp with the Infinite, the 3 mana 1/4 Poisonous Reborn is a disgusting card, especially when it has 10 health, because it just takes out anything it value trades, and it was very, very good. And then the version I grabbed at the time was also running Raza. I didn't get to do anything funny with Raza, but I did play it once. I didn't get anything good off of it, but I was very happy to see Raza. It is running Chrono Lord because once Aviana triggers and everything costs 1, you Chrono Lord and then you Hero Power and just get double stuff that you can play off the Imbue. Helps make you play the Fabled stuff easier, and then you just kind of overwhelm later on. So I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know if it's going to stay good, but I don't know what I beat a couple slower decks with it.
Yeah, I haven't played any Priest at all yet. I probably should. I probably will, especially with one of our guests coming up pretty soon. We'll talk about later. Any more thoughts on that, Hacker? Because I know you were trying to.
Yes. As soon as Pilot mentions Zarimi Priest, I realized that's what I've been facing, because the Medivh stuff is kind of, I haven't seen a lot of that at all, despite playing it more of it myself. But the last couple days, I've been playing on my phone or when I've been traveling with trains and stuff, and always Zarimi Priest. And it felt it's much less aggressive than what we've seen the last expansion or two. And I think the first iteration of it a while back, or maybe the second iteration when it popped up maybe before the Narlex nerf, where it was kind of slow. It was running repackages and yours and stuff, and then it went like Narlex, dragon, kill you. And now that's kind of happened again, despite the Narlex nerf, but because you can run Murazond on the same turn as Zarimi if you play Sarah. You can just go like 9+5, so it's 14 mana. You could technically play an Aralex as well to save 2 mana. But that's popped up, which has just been obliterating everything I've been playing, even with Dirty Rats, just because they have so many other cards that they don't need to. I'm not killing them with my decks, so they're just holding everything in hand and killing. Which is cool to see the Murazan thing come into play, like the infinite Battlecry. It's a 9-mana 8/8 at the start of your next turn. Set your attack to infinite or something. So it's an OTK, which I thought was cool, but not cool because I don't like Zarimi. So it's like a new thing, but not a completely new thing. So I have mixed feelings about it. That's what I've been facing a lot of on ladder. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, the only time I've seen the Murazan was a screenshot on Discord where someone had Sleet Skatered it, so they had infinite armor. So yeah, that's also a thing that's happening. I haven't seen a Protoss priest in forever. I don't know why, Tito, they all swarm to you, but
I've seen one.
I see what you did there.
yeah.
No, I don't know. It's just because I hate the deck so much. Maybe I've only seen it like 4 or 5 times, but I hate the deck so much that whenever I see it's dramatic. And it's not even like I don't beat it. I just hate playing it because then when you get to you get down to the mothership and then they have the double. They're like, oh hey look, now I have multiple Argons and a carrier and whatever. So, oh great, that was fun. That was awesome. That was real interactive. And then it's the stupid resuscitate. See, you were talking about playing resuscitate before, hacker. You need to make sure you get Explodinator in there because Explodinator is what you need to have in the resuscitates.
I did cook that deck, and I did make to 30 cards. I started filling it in, and I actually was very excited about this. I thought, you know what? I think this could actually work. And as I was building it out and realizing like things that it needed or it was missing, I realized that the list was very long, so I decided to not. It was off stream. I didn't have the heart to put it on stream.
That's fair. So moving on to Rogue. I like the new card that so it's a 2-mana card. I forget what it's called. I really need to start writing these things down because I have, the card amnesia. But the one that's like 2-mana combo, summon 2
the
2
yeah. I'm looking it up. I know what you're talking about though.
Because I had a game where I had 2 of those and a prep and a coin. So on turn 1 I had 4 minions. And it was great, and I still lost that game, but it was still fun to do, and I really enjoyed it. But right now, the Fabled isn't as bad as it seemed. Like it's not great, but they've turned it into, like I said, the Weapon Rogue. So at least we're playing it as opposed to Quest, which we're not playing. And if you are, why? But I don't think there's still Fire Rogue. Fire Rogue's still out there. I think there's still some kind of versions of Combo Rogue because there's always going to be some kind of versions of Combo Rogue. But outside of that, I don't think there's much going on. Are you guys liking Rogue? You guys hating Rogue? What's going on?
Hate it. It's my least favorite class to play against. It feels virtually the same as before. I know there's Garona, and it's kind of technically new, but it's the same 3 cards and like a 30-card deck that does the same thing. It plays the exact same, just instead of Metal Detector, we're throwing in the Kingslayer. Sure, some people are running like the Pirate that makes it a 3/3. The game plan's the exact same. You're looking for Scoundrel, you're looking for the Fyrak. The games play out the exact same. I was happy when I died to Garona one game. I was like, okay, something new. But like the rest of the game was still Scoundrel and stupid. Old angry man yelling at clouds. I that was the hardest part of me struggling to play different stuff and not getting frustrated, which is something I'm trying to do as well. Don't get mad, don't get frustrated, just have fun. Stuff happens. That it really tests my patience.
So Mortal Enemy is Jesse Alexander.
Yeah, it is. And, yes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Rogue?
It's a little frustrating that Fyrak Rogue got a boost because of the Fabled card, because now you can tutor Fyrak. And you because it's draw a legendary card, and now even the ones that were kind of the more weapon rogue decks are running Fyrak at the top because you run Scoundrels, and then you draw Fyrak because you have Corona and Fyrak, and that's about it for legendaries. The card Tito was trying to talk about is Flashback, which is the 2 mana summon 2 random 1 cost minions from the past combo with +1 attack. Yeah, that card's insane, especially with prep. I had said, I think last week, that prep was the big winner from the rogue set, and I still fully agree with that, just because there's so many combo cards. I got run over earlier by an aggressive combo rogue while I was trying to play the Krona Druid. I died on turn 4. I just got slammed. I got hit by Space Rock Collector, 2 Defias Ringleaders, Foxy Frog, and then I didn't have anything on board, so they played Chrono Daggers, which is a 3 mana rewind, throw 3 knives at random enemies that deal 2 damage each, and I just exploded. I was at 9 health at the end of turn 3. So on the play, I think, yeah. I was going first. I was just dead. So I might make that deck because I miss playing aggressive rogue decks.
And Fast Forward's a fun card too. Like it's the one that you draw 2 cards, one of them you pick one of them that costs 2 less. That's really strong, and it's just more tools for what already exists, right? So, and Deja Vu is a really good card too. In fact, so last night I did a show match to raise money for diabetes for God, I'm trying to remember the name, but it was an Amberflight Gaming thing, and I can look up who we're talking about, but it was me and Lenny and Curly Wordy, and we were playing Shard Warlock, and on turn 1 we got out the nice coin, 6 damage to their face, drop your 5 through its stealth. We feel like we're off to the races. They deja vu'd into the bombardment and killed our guy. And it just felt so bad because we were like, oh, here we go. And nope. So rogue doing rogue things, as always. Shaman. I have not seen a whole lot of Shaman. I thought we were going to see Murdon all over the meta all the time, wind furying their way into our faces and hearts, but I haven't seen it. Not at all. I've played a few games where we've run into some nature stuff, but for the most part, it's either Nebula or nothing really that I've seen. You guys been playing or seeing Shaman?
I've seen a little. I've seen 2 variations, not a lot, like 1 or 2 games of each, but there was a naturey, like aggressive sort of shaman that was running pretty much all the new cards. So think of like the mid-range Nebula deck, and then crank up the front half of the deck and turn off the second half of the deck. That's kind of what it felt like. Which was like fine. I had no problem losing to that. It was kind of cool. The other one was actually a very slow Muradin, triangulate the avatar form back into your deck, keep upgrading the hammer, try to kill you over the course of like a very long time, which I also thought was really cool, but I think it was a little too slow. Otherwise, I haven't seen a lot. But the new card's fun, experimenting at least.
Yeah, I think Shaman's kind of running into it's just going to take a little while for it to settle in and get refined. Just because, like we talked about when we talked about the cards, they're very powerful cards by themselves that don't clearly say like how many of them you play and how far you lean into it, because it feels like the ones that are leaning fully into like the nature cards, or the when this takes damage from your own nature spells, those 2 minions, the all-in decks aren't doing quite as well as the ones that are kind of finding that balance. There's also just a lot of experimentation. Looking at HS Guru's tier list, there are 9 different archetypes, but a lot of them are like similar things that are like a couple cards just with how the algorithm picks up, like, oh, this is a turbulent shaman, this is a nebula shaman, this is one version of the nature shaman, this is another version of it. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of settle in, and also for all those decks to kind of find their way, but they're all around tier 3 to tier 2. I think they just aren't as played, and it's a little bit confusing how we're going to fit those into the meta once it settles in, especially if we start seeing those older controlling strategies keep going, just because I feel like those will be a problem for them. Quest Warlock is not something that wants to see, with if you're trying to swing a Wind Fury weapon into face and you keep seeing Reborn taunts every single turn. That doesn't go well. I played against one shaman, and it was when I was playing the Dragon Mage. I got halfway through my first Dragon pop-off turn, and they just conceded. They're just like, nope, this is over. I give up, because I couldn't deal with it. They knew that they weren't going to kill off the dragons. I was just going to keep going next turn, and I made a couple of the 0/4 taunts, and they're like, oh, that's game over. So that's definitely something that the deck has to figure out.
Hacker, I'm curious. This is a little bit of a side. How much did you like playing the old Nature Shaman? The one where you had to coordinate your burn, and I forget all the names of the cards right now, so I'm not going to try.
Yeah, that's
But
Flash of Lightning, and then you try
yeah,
to get all your spell damage and burst out in a couple turns, or there were a couple lists.
Crash of Thunder. Yeah,
Um, I have mixed feelings about that deck. Because I like decks that make me think and make me that point me towards decisions, and that deck definitely did have decisions when to actually set up the Flash of Lightning to get the discounts next turn, when to keep what cards, when you have to just like dump your hand against aggro to stay alive and then not worry about the combo. So there were a lot of decision points in that, and that is good in my opinion. But what I didn't like about it is that a lot of the times you couldn't do anything to that deck that stopped it from doing its thing, and you would just die on turn 4 or 5 sometimes. And that's I I don't mind that happening like once in a thousand games, or even like once in 100 games, where you're like, wow, that was a crazy specific hand. I didn't know that deck could do that. But it ended up being way more common than that, and it just it I think it killed the fun for it, when it became too popular and too good. If it becomes like an off meta deck or like a tier 2 deck that kind of does that thing some of the time, and other times it's just like a solid deck, that's fine. But it got too popular because of how consistent it became. So
that sounds a bit like a certain warrior deck right now. We'll get to that in just a minute. Warlock. At least Warlock has some interesting things. I have not seen. I thought we were going to see a lot more Rafam than I'm actually seeing it. In fact, a lot of times I've played against a few Rafam decks that I haven't even seen them play a Rafam, because it gets to be like turn 8 or 9. I'm like, oh, there's a Rafam, and you can tell it's a Rafam because their deck's 40 cards. But a lot of times I'm not paying attention. They're just playing whatever they're playing, and I was kind of hoping it was going to be like a high tier 3 deck that was playable, but also like one that people just really like to play because it was like a ticketus kind of thing or whatnot. But it appears to have, I don't think, hit. Maybe it will at some point. But Shreds is the deal. I really like Shreds. It's probably going to get old fast if like you can't do what you want to do because you're dead on turn 4. But that is an old punch him in the face aggro deck, and I'm really enjoying it. And maybe Hacker had me playing too much control for a little while, so I'm kind of getting back to some aggro roots, but I'm really enjoying it. I've seen some of the Dark Gift Warlock, oddly enough, a bit rise up a little bit with the legendary there that punches you in the face there with all the dark gifts that it collects.
Hmm.
It's been quite some diversity with Warlock. What have you guys been seeing?
I played against Rafam 3 times, and I think all 3 times I dirty ratted a Rafam, and they left. Because it was when I was playing the Control Priest, so I just ratted one, and they weren't going to get there because I was a control deck, and I was going into Medivh the next turn, so yeah, I became that person in those games. Played a little bit of the Shreds. I think those were the first 3 games I played because you had sent me that deck right away, Tito, and I just ran a couple people over pretty quickly. And then I think the only other new thing that I've seen, which thankfully it's only sitting at like 46 to 47% for Diamond through Legend. It might be higher up. Is Divergence has found a home with splitting Agamagam and Fyrax and things like that. So it's just Dorian. It's Dorian all over again. So
This is why
So
we
you can
can't open
split
these
Dorian
things.
and put him in that deck.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
should have seen. So as Pylet was saying that, you should have seen. So Hacker's eyes got wide in excitement that people are playing that, and then he heard that they were playing it to play Agamagam and Firek, and then his heart, like you could see the moment where his heart breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Almost.
it's just Dorian all over again. Oh, one of them's even a couple of them are even running Dorian. Thankfully, it's the worst one.
It's not a bad thing. That's the worst one.
Yeah. There's one that's at 48% with Dorian.
I've
They just
seen
gotta refine it.
Shreds is the second most common, I should say. I saw a lot of Quest Warlock at the start of the expansion. And while I do appreciate that some people have tended away from that, there's still more than there should be. I do like the gameplay of the new Shreds Warlock. It does feel, it's got the zoo essence. I can't explain what that is exactly, but it feels like zoo. Quest Warlock doesn't feel like zoo, but the Shreds stuff felt like it was bringing back an old archetype in a new way, which I appreciated. Quest Warlock, yucky. Reform Lock, I saw some people experiment with. I tried a couple lists myself that were basically the Reform cards, basically every removal card, and a bunch of tech cards that normally I'll tell people they're on tech cards, but they're bad. However, in the Reform Warlock, I found that even though I was running bad tech cards, if they all have tradable and you just start trading towards the good cards, it's kind of okay. But it felt kind of middling. There were a couple of times that I got the Reform stuff off, but Dirty Rat and Ham and stuff like that are a problem. And because you're running more Reforms, and if you don't draw the good early Reform curve stuff, because your deck's bigger with more cards that don't necessarily do good things, you will die more often to aggressive decks. So that part doesn't feel great, but you can sometimes beat them. So that's fine. I didn't expect it to be like a tier 1 deck, but it was a fun toy to play with. Maybe we see more in like the mini set coming out, or if the meta shifts to be a bit slower, you can run the reforms. With a caveat that unfortunately, if the meta does become slower, that's probably people are going to be running Dirty Rats and Disruption, and that the deck just kind of falls over to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Egg Lock and Quest Lock are still 2 of like the top 5 decks out there. So we'll see for how much longer, because I can see both of those getting a nudge when we get this first balance patch, especially because once Quest gets online, it just locks out so many different things. But yeah, I forget where I was going with that. Oh, yeah, I saw someone in Coington Seeds Discord comparing the Shreds Lock to like Token Druid, just because you flood and then the +1/+1 board. They're like, I didn't realize I was going to play Druid with this deck. I'm like, yeah, it feels like a zoo deck. It feels very much old school zoo, and just flood the board, and then you hit them in the face, and then you've got 6 damage pings that you hit them with, and sometimes you get a little too close to the sun facing aggro, and they hit you back a little too hard, and that's how it goes.
I did have one game that I won where I was playing Shredlock and a rogue had stabilized against me, and I thought I was just I had thought about bottom writing and just moving on to the next game, but I said no, we'll stick this one out. And they died to a Shreds of Time that they had generated when they played one of my minions off of Deja Vu. and and
Perfect.
that felt really good. I haven't seen. Okay, I have not seen the legendary play yet though. That takes advantage of the shreds and draws you two and draws them two, or draws two cards for them, your lowest ones. I have not seen one play that at all, and I don't know if it's just that people experimented, it didn't work, or people just forgot that it was a card. I don't know. I kind of forgot it was a card until we were just talking about it. So I think I want to see if we can make something work with it.
It's because then you
Because
can't
I'm
play
right.
Cursed Catacombs.
You can't play Curse Catacombs. You just
can.
if they get it, they did it.
If they get it, they get it.
That's a pretty big card to give them.
Yeah,
It
but the
also, so it's not just that, but if you don't kill them with it, it also gives them 2 cards. Because
Yes.
sure, they take the damage from the shred, but it also draws them a card. So if you're not getting to a point where you're killing them outright, you could push them towards stabilization. And it's 6 mana.
yeah
6 mana in Zoo? What were we running in Zoo back then? Cairn? Actually, some people were running
yeah.
Cairn, so that's not a great example.
Well, I'm actually so in my shreds, I am running a 6 mana card, and I'm running Party Plan of Vona,
Vona.
Yes.
and that's been fun.
Yeah.
And it has won some games. And because the nice thing about it is, so you're playing the Taurus mostly to get the Corpuscles, right? But if you play the Taurus with Vona, then you can get the Death Rattles working with the minion that summons a copy of itself. So then
Mhm.
you get these minions with a copy of themselves that then also cast the Orbis, and it can get really good. It's not the game plan, but it can get really silly really fast, and it's been pretty solid. It hasn't. I haven't had a. It's never felt bad playing that, and you get there pretty quickly to the condition of launching. So I'm assuming if you look at it, it's probably a 35% win rate card in the deck, but it's felt okay to me. So I don't know.
Vona
I
looked
had
good.
someone instant concede against it. One of the games I played, I dropped it, and I don't think the animation even finished, and they conceded.
There you go.
So
They
just
they
because
weren't there for the party.
they'd gotten through the rest of my stuff, and then I just threw it down on 6, and they're like, "Well,
No, well,
All right, Warrior. Warrior is the problem, right? Right now, like as far as well,
I'll say it's a
from what?
problem.
it's a problem,"
Okay,
but I wouldn't say it's the problem, especially because it's falling off.
is it really? I have not experienced that because we have the two. So right now, I've seen 3 main warrior decks. I've seen the Enraged Dragon Warrior kind of thing, which is great. Love it. It's fun. Um, does fun. You get that 2/2 down on turn 2, and you ping it with the location, and it just starts growing. That feels really really good. I've seen a lot of Quest Warrior that is just all about gaining as much armor as possible until they get to the quest reward, and it can get kind of silly. But the deck I've seen the most, which has been more consistent than I've expected, is now they have Dummy Warrior with Dios, whatever his name is, and it's basically you can get real early turn like 5 or 6, 64 damage or so if you play it right. So that hurts. That sucks. Because you do the, what do you call it? You play the card that reduces the cost of your next mech by your armor, and then you play the chemical spill to pull him out, and then you swing with the weapon, and you swing with the weapon. And it's just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I think turn
Um,
6 is the earliest that you can do that without having to tempo something out beforehand.
I'm sure, but it does feel like
5 on
I
point,
mean
I
I've
guess.
seen a ton of it. I've seen a ton of it. I know it's one of the decks that most people are complaining about. There's always going to be decks people complain about. Um, it just feels bad. And
Agreed.
chemical spill into Tortola is still just like, how are we still doing this? Why does chemical spill summon a non-mech? Like, come on. Like something has to change, right? That's why I started running equality, and it's helped.
The
But
Yeah.
what
Deus
are our
thing
thoughts on
is
Warrior?
the Deus thing is kind of silly. Particularly in that deck, it's quite an absurd amount of damage, and it comes down. I don't want to pull out fake numbers here, but I think it comes down pretty consistently somewhere between 7 and 9. I think 7 is probably closer to high roll. 9 is leaning towards the later end of the game, but the setup required for it isn't particularly difficult because you can equip a boom wrench just to hit something on board. You have enough armor cards and cycle with the new stuff going on. It's not Release the Crocs. What is it called? Unleash the Crocs?
Unleash
the
the
Croc.
Crocolist.
Yes. That with the For
That
Glory
card is
card draw.
insane.
Yeah, it is. You get a lot more card draw out of it. It's good for Brawl. It's good for Shelnado. I've seen people start running that. And I like that there's like new cards coming in. That part's great. The part that's not great is the not so difficult setup into 64 damage for 32 damage. You can go up to 100 and something if you really take it properly, get up to more than 10 mana with new heights, but that I think that list might seem overkill. I think it's one of those things where it's not quite as consistent as Nature Shaman was, the one we were talking about a bit earlier, but it feels like we've tended away from that a little bit, and this coming back in some sense doesn't feel great, particularly when it's not that vulnerable to get run over. It can still just die because it runs out of removal and it doesn't find like the piece it needs, but I feel like a lot of the time that doesn't happen. So that part doesn't feel great.
Yeah, so I think probably one of the big reasons also that it's gotten a lot of community sentiment feedback very quickly is because it's a deck that we finally kind of stopped seeing constantly, because we saw a ton of this, a few months ago, where then it was a scam Tortola or Ziliax, or you had the testing dummies that were just annoying and kind of burning you down over a few turns, and then Umbra to finish the game off. And now it's got that, plus it has OTK combo potential, which it didn't have as strong of before, other than Umbra. And Umbra you could see at least coming because you knew, oh, they've killed off 5 testing dummies, I'm dead to Umbra if they play it. They can do this with nothing on board.
This combo deals
Because
more than Umbra did.
it does, because what is it? It's so Deus or Theos plus 1 boom wrench dying is what, 32 damage, because the weapon death rattle happens twice, and each one the mech death rattle happens twice. If you get 2 of them to go off in one turn, if you like break the 3-1 because you play the mini and then swing, then that's 64 damage. And it's just a lot of damage early, and it's been a while since we've had an OTK like this that is this much damage this early. And most of the other times that we've seen it, it's been nerfed fairly quickly. So I kind of see that coming to where this is going to get bumped back to be that, these earliest that it can happen is 8, 9, 10 rather than turn 6.
Okay, but now that we're talking about all this, I just really now want to go back and figure out a way to play Deus plus Umbra in a Cinder Shaman deck.
Okay.
Because that'd be a lot of pew, 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 pew.
It
And it'd
would.
be fun.
It would. Maybe there's a way to...
It'd-
What if we give Shaman a Scoundrel?
Right now, we just have the card that you draw it and it costs 3 less.
Okay. All right.
Farsight.
So
Farsight.
here's how you do it, Tito. You play Imbue Shaman, so you can play Malorn and get Aviana, and then everything's cheap enough that you can Shutter Block.
Shutter Block.
Dios
Can't forget Shutter Block.
into Umbra, because everything costs 1, so you don't need 25 mana to do all that.
Oh, but okay.
And you get to play Imbue.
Dios into the mini Shutter Block into something else sounds like that could be kind of gross too. I don't know. I want to go do stuff. This is great. Before we start talking about balance changes, any other thoughts on Warrior? Have you been playing anything? What not?
So one of the other reasons where, like, I don't like the Mech Warrior thing, but the reason that I'm not as concerned about it is at Legend, it's already fallen below 50% win rate. So it is getting targeted and countered in different ways. As part of the reason why I think some of the tech cards have been coming out more. But it's not. It's the third best warrior deck, or fourth. It's the bottom. It's the bottom warrior deck that's seeing a lot of play. The top one is Enrage, specifically with the Fabled cards. That is the top deck at Diamond through Legend right now. Is
Nice.
the Enrage Dragon stuff, and then getting to the Blood Fighters at the top end. So that's been kind of nice to see. I did try to play what the top win rate was, and I couldn't do anything with it. I played enough of the Dragon Rage Warrior. I know how to play the deck. I was winning with it when it wasn't being played, and now that it is being played, I couldn't win with it. But it's kind of nice to see that that's been propped up a little bit from the set.
Yeah,
All right, fair.
I played a bunch of Quest Warrior, and in like a lot of different variations too. I've been trying a ton of stuff with it because I thought it would line up nicely with the old meta decks that are still hanging around, or at least it has a solid chance against them. And it's still running enough new cards that I feel like I'm playing a slightly different deck. But it's been a struggle. It doesn't feel like I'm particularly favored against everything, even though I'm getting all this armor and it just sometimes I just die. Sometimes my long-term game plan doesn't work out. It does feel not particularly well placed. And I know I understand this is anecdotal, but a couple of other control players that I know have also felt the same way, not just about Priest and Warrior, but just it felt like Control got a lot of good tools, and particularly like I will say, a lot of the a lot of the new Warrior cards help you stay alive a lot longer for sure. But it still feels like it's not getting there in the end, and a lot of Control players are just saying, "Well, I'll play something else. It doesn't feel good right now," which is like that's fine, not a big deal. But I will say that in the defense of Warrior, some of the new cards are quite powerful, and maybe they could be tuned down. But the archetype that they were probably meant for Control isn't necessarily doing as well as some of the other archetypes it's enabling.
That's fair. And I don't. So far, all right. So let's talk about a few things here. Are there any cards that are new that you want to see nerfed right off the bat?
I'm looking through the list right now because nothing came to mind super quickly.
I personally don't think the Crocs need to be changed with the For Glory working together so consistently. But I will say that if other stuff gets changed in the balance patch that allows the Control archetype to become super oppressive, then sure. So I could see like maybe a preemptive change to Crocalisks to gain a little bit less armor, or maybe bumping up For Glory 1 mana. It's probably the armor thing because people really don't like seeing your opponent having 20-30 armor. So maybe bump down that to like 8 armor, or I don't know. But otherwise, a lot of the new cards I think are being tinkered with quite well. So I don't particularly hate those. I think they're being held back a little bit by older cards. So I can't think of something that I'd like to change from the new set.
Okay, Pilot.
Yeah, I don't think that any of the Shreds cards need a nerf right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them, if Barrage gets hit in the second round of balance patches. If the Divergent stuff, sees any chance of becoming more competitive, then they're going to probably smack that down pretty quickly and make it cost like 8, just so that we don't have another Dorian all over again. And then, like Hacker said, the Unleash the Crocodilus is a lot stronger than I expected it to be. For Glory, I could eventually maybe see that going to 6, but I think it's fine because Warrior needs to draw right now. But I don't see anything else really getting nerfed from the new set. I could see them possibly hitting the Snake and Demon Hunter early, just because that's eventually going to 9. There's no way that stays as an 8 mana 7/9 for the entire time that's in standard. There's absolutely no chance. So either it gets a stat nerf or it goes up to 9. at some point. So those are kind of the only new cards, but those are all a lot of them are small nudges. I think the new cards are overall in a really good spot.
I agree. So far, I mean, maybe Dios, however you say his name, um, he might need a nudge, but at the same point, I think they want to let him breathe and do things, and probably nerf some of the older cards and see where the creative space with him
Yep.
goes before they kind of nuke him. Hopefully they don't nuke him either, but like anytime we do double battle cries and double death rattles and double everything, these weird things happen. So um, I think you could make it so maybe it's a choose one, like you play them and you choose which would you like to double, and then that way it's like it's not just this generic thing where everything is super crazy, but it's still a powerful card. So that could be interesting. But yeah, I don't think anything needs to be nerfed as far as the newer cards. Hacker, how about older cards? What would you like to see nudged to let this expansion breathe? Up, you're on mute, I believe.
Sorry, you didn't hear my quip. How many cards can I choose?
As many as you would like.
Great. Let's go down the list here. I'll start with Sandbox Scoundrel. That needs to be changed in some shape or form, and it has to have been changed for a while, in my opinion. But that's just enabling too many shenanigans. And I will say that Deus does seem kind of scary, but if you look at all the things that Deus is doing that is not breaking the game, but creating maybe unfun game experiences, there's a lot of other cards there that you could kind of point to and say, well, they're kind of working together with them very well. Scoundrel is a big one. You could argue some of the other Death Rattle stuff in Warrior as well. But outside of like those two classes, it's not doing like crazy weird stuff in other things. So I think it's fine to let that breathe. Like if you want to risk tempoing out a Deos and they can't answer it, it's like, oh, okay, now I can really do some stuff. So that's fine. Or like after Aviana goes off in Priest, where your cards cost 1 mana. Okay, you got to turn 9, you played an Aviana, 3 turns have passed, and then you played the thing. So like that's a pretty big restriction. But like Scoundrel can probably go. Something in DK probably needs to change because it's been the package there has been very consistent. I'm not sure what needs to be changed there. Maybe which is very popular in a lot of mid-range to slower type decks, could be touched. I'm trying to look through the collection because I didn't come up with a list, but
well, because I just put you on the spot without any preparation. Wasn't in the show notes.
Like I kind of want Elise to be changed a little bit because she's way too strong in like it's almost every single deck I build right now is can I throw in 5 other cards and put an Elise? That's the first thing I try. And if I can't do it, I'm like, do I really want to finish building this? But she's also one of the new cards, so it feels kind of bad. Something with a dragon package probably has to go between Naralex, Fyrak, and Ysera. I haven't given a lot of thought to which one, but something there probably has to go. There's just too many consistent neutral cards that are in a lot of cards type decks. I don't have a problem with like Creature Madness, for example, because this like it's a 2-mana card. It's not particularly offensive. Sure, there's like some weird high rolly stuff that can happen on turn 3, but it's not like a turn 5 or 6 Fyrak where you're like, all right, okay. So I think the strong legendary stuff that's going on in the neutrals, Naralex, I'm picturing this Harry Potter meme where it's like, why is it when something's going wrong, it's always you three? That's top of my list. I'm sure there's something else, but what about you guys?
Pilot guide.
Yeah, a lot of those were right on my list. I think Scoundrel to discount 2, I think is probably a reasonable change. Because and you can't do much with the mini because of the keyword. So the change that they have to do is either the first body making it so painfully long before you play it, or change the discount. And I think the discount probably goes to 2. That still doesn't overly change too much with the shadow step, but it definitely slows everything down by a turn or two. It makes the turn 5 Scoundrel a lot slower because now you can't go 5-drop Scoundrel into a 3-drop because we did a lot of that. I don't, like you said, I don't know what changes in the Naralex, Ysera, Fyrak stuff just because I don't know what gets it to where it's not super prevalent. Because it's just that package is just good enough, and then because you have all those mana costs covered, and you're just playing those high cost cards to where you just play Elise because there's no penalty. There's no deck building penalty when every deck is just fine playing a 7 and 2 9 drops. So something needs to go there, and I don't know what it is, other than the fact that I could see them just absolutely blowing it up and nuking it, because we have all those cards all next year also. Those are all Emerald Dream cards. So it's not like,
All right.
well, let's get it far enough off to where, they're going to rotate in 4 months is fine. Those don't. So that needs a major change, or, an early rotate consideration potentially if it stays this warping. Outside of that, Quest Warlock needs, I think that gets reverted. At least something of it, if not both. Either the number of temporary, or didn't they reduce the cost of the rift as well?
I think it was 5 mana before, kind of like
I
the other
can't
quest
remember.
rewards. I think it was 5 mana as well.
Okay, I can't remember because I know that they changed some of the quest reward cost, but I can't remember if that was one of them, because I know like Rogue went from 5 to 3 mana, but I can't remember if this was one of them also. So that Quest Warlock needs a change in some way. It's probably the quest, because I think the other cards are Catacombs is interesting enough in other decks that I don't think they want to take that tool away from slower Warlock decks, because that really hurts. Like if a Reform Lock is trying to find some ground, that card's really good there, because then we can find those Reforms a little easier. So I think they want to leave that where it is. But outside of that, Death Knight, I think the Leech package gets it. I think a bunch of leeches get a mana bump on them to just slow it down.
That's fair. I like all those. I don't know, Scott. I like your thought on Scoundrel. You fix Elise by making her Highlander instead of just 10 cards. You fix Fyric by taking away the only does damage to your enemies if possible and make it just pure Yogg. And if it gets eaten by itself, it stops. So that would make it a lot less consistent and more interesting. I think you change Chemical Spill, like I said, to only target mechs. That lets you keep Tortola, but not necessarily, get it on turn 5. So I think there's things they can do, and that will still have the cards there, but make them not nearly as good. But yeah, I think after everything that happened in Ungoro, and they didn't want the quest to hit, which no one still understands that whole why they.
We do,
Anyway,
though, because of Quest Warlock right now. Quest Warlock is why they
sure.
didn't want all the quests to be super powerful.
Okay, sure. Quest Warlock, the fix is that you have to put a temporary card into the portal to activate it.
So it's dead.
There you go. Sure. No lies detected, no problems here. So I mean, there's ways they can do it. But they want this card. They want these cards to hit. They want this set to hit. I think the meta is moderately diverse right now, and I think they want to encourage it. And I think that they're going to try to make adjustments there that will. I'm hopeful that we're going to see a lot less Fyric. We're going to see a lot less Quest Warlock. We're going to see a lot less of those things, but we'll see. What about buffs? Do you think it's too early to buff? Is there anything you'd like to see buffed, or do you want to just let the meta settle after a few balance adjustments?
The thing is, and it's something I do want to commend the team for with this expansion, is that despite having a lot of these older cards and archetypes overshadowing some of the expansion stuff, there's enough, maybe not uniqueness, there's enough there to work with to try to make stuff, even if it's like old stuff with like Questware is still Questware, but I'm able to play it with like 7 or 8 new cards, and it does end up playing quite a bit differently. As an example, I do hate Rogue, and I understand it's just like a 3-card package, but some people are playing like maybe 5 or 6 cards different, which is at least still something. If a new expansion has either every deck changes, what's 5 out of 30 cards, like 16-17% different, that's like okay, as long as some other new archetypes pop up as well. So I think there's enough strength with the new cards that you can take them in new directions if we give them a chance to. So I don't know which cards I'd buff particularly, and that might become a bit more evident after we tone back, or hopefully after we tone back some of the old stuff. But I'm sure they also don't want to like make a change, then sit another little bit with the expectation of another change coming, because that's just like, it's a lot of stringing stuff along until they get to a good state. And I'd prefer they try to buff at least some underperforming cards or archetypes as well as the nerfs. And Lorinda's a big advocate of this, and I'm sure some other people are as well. I think if you can not break the game, but like let some monsters loose for a little bit with new cards, I think that's okay to an extent, as long as it's not like day 1 Demon Hunter. So I'm kind of for that as well. If we see some bold new archetypes pop up with that are like wildly different, I think that's good.
That's fair. Like they usually either they buff cards and you're like, okay, we're still not playing that card, or we get Pocket Dimension, which went from not playable to oh my god, can we please stop playing this? So usually, but then they have the happy middle where like how long did it take them to get the Rifts and Warrior? They had to slowly buff a couple of those, and eventually they became a solid package that wasn't overpowering. And same thing with Relics, right? Relics and Demon Hunter. It took them a little while. They buffed things a little bit, and then it became just a solid thing that was a lot of fun to do. So we've seen it in all different directions. Either it's been inconsequential. Why do we do this? Why do we buff Van Cleef before we all went away on vacation? And why do we do Pocket Dimension? And then, but it made a lot of sense, right? Because it was a lot of times it's like, hey, we want to try to encourage this, and as long as they're willing to pull things back, if they don't work out, then yeah, if we have a couple weeks of, maybe something being different, oppressive versus the same thing that we've seen for the last 6 months, then that becomes the challenge of okay, I'm seeing these cards now all the time. So how can I counter this? What can I do to build something to maybe take advantage of the fact that this is now the thing and all that. So when you have fresh things to try to counterplay, I think that's at least better than being oppressed by the same thing for the last X number of months. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think they have a tough job.
Yeah, I think the 2 buffs that I could think of that I think I'd like to see, like I said, I like what was that? I don't think that we need a ton, just because we've had these cards find homes in decks. Every class is playing new cards in some way, which is a success in my opinion. We just need to kind of find ways for some of these super prevalent decks from the past 3 months to not be able to use the cards as well by nerfing those other things and giving some breathing room. I think 2 things that I could see them doing is I could see Broxigar, the portals changing to where you draw the card when you play the spell rather than it being on the death rattle of the minion you summon. Just that way, if something happens where it doesn't die, you still get the card replaced right away. And then it kind of keeps your cycling going. And then Druid, I feel like hasn't found much new to do yet. I don't know if it needs any changes or it just needs the other decks to kind of move around. And then the only other one that I could think of is I could see 1 or 2 things in Paladin or Rogue possibly getting buffed if they also were to nerf Metal Detector. Because I could also see that card eating a nerf and going to a 2/2 and making it a lot harder to get the coin. And if you do that, then there's not a lot of 3s that you want to play if Metal Detector's not there. So I could see them maybe taking something like a cardboard golem or a paladin and dropping it to a 3-mana 3/3. So you have something to do because I looked at putting golem in that deck and it's just so heavy on 4-drops. There's so many 4-drops in that deck. So I could see them doing something like that if they were to nerf Metal Detector to kind of open up more plays to put in that spot instead. It'd at least make things interesting, I think.
Just give Metal Detector honorable kill. Yeah, if you do 3 damage exactly to a minion to kill it, then you get a coin, and if it's not, then it's there you go. Reuse old mechanics to your advantage.
Oh, I do have one other card that I want to see buffed because I think you can buff this and it's still not going to be good. Can we make the Hunter location playable? Passover Moon.
Oh, yeah.
That card is so bad. It's really bad. 4 mana. First one is deal 5 to a random enemy. Second one, deal 5 to a random. Excess hits face.
Yeah.
The third one, it hits the lowest health enemy minion and excess goes face. Like that can cost 3 and it's going to be fine, right?
Maybe something like the face hunter package. Like maybe at that at 3 mana can help it as well. Like I will
Yes.
say I'm not huge on aggro decks, but I actually enjoy tinkering around with like an aggressive hunter list or two, and it just felt like almost good enough. Like kind of how Shred Warlock does feel like a reincarnation of some sort of zoo deck. Face Hunter seems like it's almost there, but it's a little bit off. And I'm trying to look through the new cards and see if there's anything there, or even through the neutrals to see if something that other aggressive decks could use as well. But I'm not seeing something like pop out at me.
I think the Face Hunter cards feel a lot better to play once we lose Patchwork Pals in a couple months, just because the aggressive hunters have, if you're playing Patchwork Pals, trying to get the empty hand stuff to work is really awkward because then it pushes it so late and then you've drawn so many more cards and it makes it really awkward because you don't want to lose that card.
Right. Final thoughts on the first week of the expansion. Pylet, why don't you go first?
I like a lot of the new stuff. I even my 11 game losing streak the past 2 days notwithstanding, I've been having fun. I've had fun with the stuff that I've played. I'm just some of the things that we were kind of worried about, I think we were right on, but I think that they're all things that hopefully are addressable.
Hacker?
Yeah, pretty much agree. I have had a lot of fun in this expansion. Granted, that's been with my expectation of these decks are going to be really annoying to play against still, and I think they're still going to be very strong, and they were very strong and annoying to play against. But trying to kind of like compartmentalize those games from the games where I actually get to do cool stuff with new cards has been good because a lot of cards are cool. I think a lot of them actually will see play and are seeing play even with the dominance of the old stuff. So I'm happy-ish with the expansion so far, with the hope that they're going to make changes to cards that need to be changed so that not only this expansion becomes more successful, but also sets up like the rest of next year. Like you said, a lot of the neutrals that are sticking around, Fyrak, Ysera, Narrowlex could be problematic. So if they keep printing cool new stuff while keeping the old stuff in check, I think that's good. But hopefully before expansions, not after, because I think if they were to make if they were English, if they were to have made a balance change before the expansion comes out with cards that we would have expected to be problematic, I think we would have had probably one of the most successful expansions we've had in a while. Because I think these cards had the potential to do that. Not just the theme, but the way they play and new archetypes, additions to old archetypes. I think this is a big winner if we get some stuff in check.
I'm having a lot of fun this expansion. I like I like the feel, I like the themes. I like even when we talk about the things that maybe are a little oppressive and all that. It's still hit a lot better than I think the last couple of expansions. It's fun. I like the fact I wanted, aside from Deos, Like none of the neutral legendaries feel oppressive or anything like that. In fact, I think some of those neutral legendaries need to be buffed a little bit so they actually see some play. Because I feel like this is probably the set that we've seen the fewest legendary neutrals be played. And that's good on some levels, but at the same point, like you want to see some of them are pretty cool. I just don't want to you want I want to see, like I said, I want to see things that are like tier 3 and playable that aren't like so dominant that you see them in every deck. Even Deos has its places, but it's not in every deck. It's not going to help further along a game plan, whether you're playing an aggro or mid range or control. You have to have a specific condition that you want to execute with that. And I like that. I like that as we don't have Siren Athreys, we don't have Fyrek, we don't have those neutrals that are just kind of going to be in every deck until something changes. But every 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 class has something at least interesting to work around with, and even if we're still seeing old archetypes, uh, those will change, I think, and I think we're going to just continue to build on it. So, um, yeah. So, question of the week for you, language hacker. Now that you're in the city, it's Friday night. Wifey says, "Hey, let's go out to eat. Where are you going? If it's your choice and it's your favorite place to go." Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm considering how DDoSy this is.
Oh, no, okay, no, okay. Don't have to say the restaurant, just the type of food or anything like
Oh,
that.
I'm not actually. I'm not big on a specific place over and over again. To be fair, we did find a taco place nearby that was incredible that we went to a few times. But I've been trying new stuff since Wanda's come into my life, and that's been kind of a big thing. So I'm not quite as let's go to this place. I'm fine trying some new stuff out, but I will fall back on like a solid pizza place, for example. I will have pizza cravings every now and then. That's probably something we go for.
Fair enough. Well, if you'd like to support our show, you can do so by joining our Patreon over at patreon.com/breadandbutterhs. You get the raw audio early. You can also find us on YouTube. But if you are a patron, you can. I gotta switch the order of that around because I'm reading in order and it kind of was out of order. You have access to a members channel on Discord where we have all our previous guests, and you can help us shape the show by asking future questions if you know who the guests are coming on. And if you'd like to support us in a non-financial way, you can just let people know about the show, let us know how we're doing, leave us a review. That really helps. Just to give you a little heads up, and I know that this can change, but our next few guests we'll have next week, we'll have This Week in Hearthstone, who does some fantastic content. And the week after, we will have Tic Tac himself here to talk about how to dirty rat somebody on turn 2 in a theory crafting event. And then we have I had a nice conversation with him on Twitter about that because I was kind of annoyed that like we're dirty ratting and theory crafting what, but we had a nice civil conversation about it, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. He's been somebody that's been asking a lot, and then coming up after that, over the next few weeks, we are working on having a joint show with Born to Be Wild to talk about kind of wild in the current state of things, and that's a lot of fun. We're gonna have Bridgetus on, and we're gonna have No Hands Gamer on to talk about his book that he's been working on. So all very excited about this. I've been really bad lately about booking guests before the last like 3 days before the show. So I'm like every once in a while I get really motivated. I'm like, oh, we're gonna book out for a couple months. And so we're working on that. And I definitely appreciate Hacker. You came on kind of fairly last minute. I think I asked you on like Friday or something. So definitely glad to have you on here. It's always fun to like, especially these shows where it's like we're not having somebody on to talk about like, hey, how to get better at this particular thing in the game, but it's just kind of like the generic, hey, here's the news, here's the new set, let's talk about it. It's like you want to when we have new guests on, we want to have it the focus on them and all that. Where it's like when we have the generic things, we want to talk focus on the news. So it's a weird balance of trying to find guests. But we appreciate having you on. And is there anything? Where can people find you on social media?
Twitch.tv/LanguageHacker or x.com/languagehacker_. I don't really tweet out that much. I'm mostly just hanging out on Twitch or on other people's channels.
All right. And Pylet, where can people find you?
You can find me Pylet712, that's Pylet, on Blue Sky, as well as Twitter, and then also in Discord as well.
And you can find me at Tito Santana HS on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. You can especially find us on YouTube. We're doing lots of new stuff for the show. You can also find the show at Bread and Butter HS on both Twitch and on YouTube. Hacker, can you give us the housewife's information? She was going to be here tonight, but she wasn't feeling that great. Where can people find the housewife?
Absolutely. She's just changed. So on Twitch, she's twitch.tv/WandaWifey. That's one word. I think she's off Twitter now. I think she's on Blue Sky. It might also be Wanda Wifey, but I'd have to check that with her. If you go to her Twitch page, I think she has all her links there.
And do you have anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week, like the fantastic coaching you offer?
I'd like to shout out, sure, I do offer coaching for high level standard and arena. I would also like to shout out my wife, who still supports me doing streaming stuff. Even though we've been busy and work's been picking up and a lot of other stuff, but she's still been happy to support me pursuing things that I'd like to do.
And Pylet, anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out. I actually bowled in a tournament this morning that was a benefit type tournament. It was for a veteran suicide prevention. So always nice to do something that you enjoy and support a good cause at the same time. So kind of shout out to that, and then also shout out to all the listeners who made it through like an hour 45 of us being, oh yeah, that card that I can't remember what it does, and all of the excellent podcasting that we did tonight.
It was a little rough at times, but that's
It's
par for the
okay.
course. Par for the course.
It's new cards. It's new cards. We gotta figure everything out again.
Yeah, except that we couldn't remember the names of the old cards. That was the
Well,
problem.
That's fine. You can fix it in post, right?
No, I mean I could, but I won't. It already takes long enough as it is. I'm gonna shout out. So I'm gonna shout out Madra from Amberflake Gaming, who. So last night we did like a show match that we talked about, and there was some work that needed to be done, and he stepped up and really helped out. So thanks to that. And I'm also we're waiting on my job to potentially be furloughed, as a lot of federal employees are, and it kind of bites. So I have a lot of cool people I work with, and I was like, hey, why don't we make a Discord, so that way if we do get furloughed, we can play Jackbox. And we created a Discord, and people have jumped right on it. Like, there are people playing No Man's Sky on it right now and all that. So I'll just shout out those folks, because it's been great to just kind of like, it's weird when you work at a place where it's like, hey, I'm leaving work, I'm going to hang out with people from work now, and we do social things after work, and we have a lot of similar interests and stuff like that. We're all big geeks, so that's just really makes the place that I work even better, because it's a really good job, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very engaging, and just having great people around you is great. But I think we're at toast. We'll see ya.
See ya.
See ya.
So we were coming up about 50 minutes. I'm like, wow, this is going to be a short show.
It was.
And it was. And then
we got to Mech Warrior.
then we had to remember what the names of cards.
Oh my gosh.
Warrior has some cards.
There's nothing worse than playing aggro and seeing Tortola come down.
No, that part's fair. That probably needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Because there's no if you are playing, unless you're playing like Paladin, and you have exactly equality. If you're playing any kind of aggro, that's just, you're done. Because you can get through it, but then you've used up all your resources to get through it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
and I just hate
that, or Royal Librarian is our only neutral silence that can hit it.
I literally thought today about making a deck that I started with 2 Librarians, 2 Demolishers, and 2 Vipers, and I said, "Wow, I'm too much language." Like, I've been playing with LanguageHacker too much.
I think I have to cut you off, Tito. That's too far.
You never go full tech card.
Except in Reform World.
Although I was gonna say I did play a Wild a little bit to
Oh,
fill up some quests, and like literally there was like a tech card warlock that had just like everything.
it's
It
got
was like
everything. Yeah.
every yeah, it was like, oh hey, we're gonna do this. Oh hey, look, I'm like it was all the greatest hits. I'm like, oh boy, Theotar, that was awesome. Oh boy, Dirty Rat.
Well,
Whatever. But anyway, I know you're tired and I need to get to work. I probably got to do the thing too. Thanks for being on. Appreciate you. We'll definitely have you on
Yes.
again soon.
yeah,
And one of our
always fun.
favorite guests. And yeah, look forward to hopefully we're probably not getting we're probably not getting a balance this week. It'll probably be the week after, right?
No idea. I stopped trying to
It's.
pay attention.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's sometimes the Thursday after. That's normally the earliest. Which would be this upcoming Thursday, or it'll be next Tuesday.
I'm okay with it being next Tuesday, even though I want to see some of this stuff go. Let it breathe, figure it out. I've liked that they've kind of gotten rid of the panic cadence, and they just say, okay, nope, we're just gonna do our things when we do them and get the data and figure it out. So
I could see this one being this Thursday. Oh, never mind. It won't be this Thursday. It'll be next. It'll be next week because the last chance is on Sunday.
Oh, they're probably not gonna. Yeah,
They're not
put
gonna.
out.
They're not gonna make a big balance change to those old top decks 2
Because they
days
also
before.
have to. Yeah, they have to submit decks at some point before
Yeah.
the weekend, so it would be kind of chaotic.
and I don't know if they have Tuesday off as well. So they may have Tuesday off as Veterans Day here in
Okay,
America.
I gotta run. Oh, we have Tuesday off actually as well. Yeah. But yeah,
Nice. Well, tell Wanda we said hi and sorry. Hope you feel better. And yeah, we'll talk to you later.
we'll do. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yep. See ya.
All right, Pilot, are we doing one game of duos?
Yeah, I could play a game of duos.
All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll catch you next time.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.